Joining us on the Western Hotline is Sabres head coach Lindy Ruff. Lindy, good morning. Jeremy and Joe, thanks for taking time this morning.
Morning, gentlemen.
Lindy, did you have any concern, Sabres fans, when you have that big long break, you wonder, how you're going to be picking it up out of the break. And 3 straight wins, maybe some of the best games you've played this year. Were you at all concerned or at least eager to see how your team responded after the lengthy break?
I think eager to see. We laid out a plan before the break. Talked to the players about their days off and how they could keep themselves sharp, and then tried to lay out what would look like a schedule that if we were playing that week of practice where, practice for a couple of days, take a day off, and then practice another day off. So basically the same type of routine, and the days off being, one being a full day off and the other one just kind of a lift day. But we pushed the practices longer. All practices were over an hour. Our normal practice now with that, the schedule has been 30 minutes. But, I think you're eager you're kind of anxious to see, how's everybody going to look back on the game again.
Yeah. When it comes to, mentioning those longer practices, now you're on a run of however many games and however many days, there won't be a lot of practice time. Was that part of why you did that, the longer practices? Like, this is our last chance to really maybe tune anything up we want to tune up before a stretch run where it's just game and then day off and then game and then day off pretty much for the rest of the year?
I think it was more about trying to keep the compete there. A lot of the drills were small ice compete, 1-on-1, 2-on-2 type of drills, 2-on-2 games, net to board type of scrimmages where we're playing half ice and in small ice where you don't have a lot of time with the puck. You're missing Darlene, you're missing Thompson, so practicing special teams really wasn't an option. And really just trying to keep the compete ramped up so that when we dropped the puck for that first game, we were ready to play.
Did you feel like that helped in especially those first 2 games that were a lot tighter on the scoreboard all the way late?
Yeah, I think again that was a key, that we were able to maintain a high level of puck battle, even in the Jersey game, the Florida game. The Florida game was a hard game. We knew how much that game would mean to them, and again for us to go down there. We had kind of a late night, didn't get in until about 2 a.m. And again, we chose to take a day off, not a complete day off, but a day where the players lifted and more got exercise in a weight room facility down there, but stayed off the ice. And I think in a back-to-back game, it paid off again for us. I think you look at the schedule and play the game and rest is going to be a weapon where we've weighed every situation to give them as much possible time off to be the freshest team we can be, and I think it's paid off for us.
Lindy Ruff joining us on the Western Hotline. Lindy, the Florida games, I want to ask you about the Florida games because I saw that Matthew Fairburn of The Athletic had a note that 2 years ago to the day, Kyle Oposo talked about Florida games being games you have to put your big boy pants on, and matchups with Florida, not even saying that they've won the cup, that they play a brand, a heavy kind of hockey, and it feels like this year there has been a corner turned for your group in terms of matching the level, matching the intensity that they play with. It had not been there for this team over the last couple of seasons, and to take 3 out of 4 from them, and the one you lose is a game you lose in the third period, I feel like it's the style against Florida that has changed the most for your group.
Yeah, you look at Florida. First, if you want to deal with the Panthers, they're probably the best forechecking team in the league, where they come in, they get the puck on the yellow, and you got to dig it off the yellow, and then they're coming through the body every time, and you've got to solve their pressure, and you got to make the next play, and you got to make that next play on the boards usually, and you got to make it under duress. And I thought we were able to handle a lot of their pressure. We made a lot of good plays in small ice, and we found our support in we were able to break out of the zone in a hurry. And I think if you can do that, you have an opportunity to create some rush opportunities. And I think if you look at it, I think we had 2 2-and-1s in the game. We didn't even get a shot on goal where we chose to, or deferred to passing. But those are the situations I'm talking about. You beat them on the wall, you beat the pressure, trying to keep pucks alive in the O-zone, and we created the opportunities we wanted. We didn't take advantage of some of our really good opportunities, but I thought in the Lightning game we did. But, two teams that you look at Tampa, they tried to come out heavier and harder in the second, third period. Again, we were able to solve that pressure and find open ice.
Do you view the Lightning as a measuring stick for what the ceiling of your team is? I mean, they have been at the top of the conference for most of the year, and your team's only seen them twice, and it was a one-goal game that you had the lead in the final minute, and the other one's a 6-2 win, and they're both on the road on the second of a back-to-back. Like, do you feel like that kind of proves a little bit that your team should be mentioned with the best teams in the conference?
Well, I think they're one of the best. They've been the most consistent team. Well, there's 2 teams for me, really. The Carolina is the other one, but Tampa has been a team all year long that has played very well. Their special teams have been good. They are kind of the model. They've been a good team for a lot of years. And I thought the previous game we let that extra point slip away 5-on-6. I thought this game. We got the early goal and we just kept going. I thought we skated so well, but they are a team that you look at and can we match their intensity? Can we get to their goaltender? And, probably the third part is special teams. That a power play with Kucherov. Kucherov is an incredible player. Sees the ice incredible. And, the previous game, we let him in on every goal. I thought we did a lot better job of keeping him at bay in the previous game. So, yeah, they've been one of the best teams for sure.
That game, by the way, like they make it ugly in the second, the third, there's scrums, there's stuff happening. And maybe it was right around a year ago, Lindy, we were talking to you about this sort of thing with your team, getting in there, standing up for teammates. And I wonder what you think about what Ostlund did. Even though he's not getting in a trading rights fight, just showing up in that moment, it feels like your team this year, it's not even really something that comes up because it just kind of happens naturally versus in previous years where it was something that was coming up.
Yeah, for sure. I love what he did. He immediately went in, didn't know what really. I don't even know if he knew what exactly happened, but he was going to be there for his teammate, and I think that's all you can ask. I think there was a point in the game where one of the Tampa players, we were up 3-0, wanted to fight somebody, and I just said, why would we create energy for them? Let's stay out of the scrums. Let's stay out of the box. Let's not entertain. They're trying to gain energy in the game. Let's keep skating them. There was really no reason to get in. I said, if there's a good reason to get in the fight, let's get in it. And I thought our team really handled that game well. Even, they were trying to, it was a little bit of a playoff thing where they knew the game was out of hand. They were going to have some pushback. They got a little bit angry, and I thought our team handled it well.
Sabres head coach Lindy Ruff. Lindy, are you scoreboard watching? Are you standings watching? How routine is it to take a peek where you are?
How about daily?
Yeah, good. So you're just like us then, because
for sure,
yeah.
For sure. You know what? It is that time of year where, you're watching games. I watched a little bit of the Philly-Toronto game last night. You're seeing who's going well. Philly now has won 3 in a row, and of course, it's an exciting time of the year, and to be where you're at, you're looking to see what other teams are doing, and at the same time, you got to take care of your own backyard.
That said, Lindy, I don't want to get you too far ahead of what you've done and where you can go, but it was the Kings game where Alex Tuck said, we're not talking about just getting in, we're talking about winning the cup, and here we are. It's the week of the trade deadline, and Jarmo Kekalainen maybe gets to work, maybe makes something happen here. It's funny, we asked the question today, how big should should Sabres fans dream? How high should they shoot? And I wonder if you've allowed yourself to get to that. Like how well this team has been playing in the last 3 months. How high should you be shooting?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, obviously, and we've tried to really stay present in the moment with really one game at a time. When you look at the schedule and you look at how demanding and how well our division and conference and how tight it is, you don't do too much dreaming. I know we've played well, but let's take it a game at a time. I think it is the time of the year where, with the trade deadline looming, that you have conversations about, can you make your team better? And if there's some piece out there that can make your team better, we've got ourselves a great opportunity to do it. And I think Jarmo and his group are, that's what they're looking at.
Are you guys talking about that every couple days, every couple games? Now that we're getting down to days to the deadline, are you guys just kind of, are you being briefed on it, have input in it? How will the next couple days look for you and for Jarmo?
Yeah, there's conversations daily. I think you talk about your game, every game you play. You spend time talking with Jarmo. He's around us daily, and we talk about what we liked in the game and what we didn't like. And is there something, knowing going forward that can make us better? And that changes from game to game because there's some players who will, play a little better. We've got some players that have quite a few players that have not been playoff tested. But Jarmo's got a lot of experience with what it takes in the playoffs. Mark Bergevin has a lot of experience with that. Josh Flynn's been around it, so his people are well versed in what it takes if you get into playoffs.
Not to say this is a move that has to happen this week, but I wonder in your experience how a team reacts when a team that's high up in the standings, things are going really well for. Think of like the 07 team when they trade for Dinas Zubris at the deadline. I'm sure you've had other stops too. A player that comes in from out of the group that projects to go on paper at least like high in the lineup. Like in your experience, how does a group usually react to that? And is there any risk to messing with the dynamic of everything, even if the player is a talented one?
I think you just mentioned both sides of it. The risk of bringing somebody in when your chemistry's going good, and the other side of it is not having the fear to try to make your team better. You can see key people that have stepped into Stanley Cup champion lineups that have really helped them win down the stretch. So there's both sides. I think you weigh what is going to make, what is going out, what's coming in, and is it going to make you better? And I think there's the teams I've had, there's always been an excitement when you bring somebody in and they look at it like, boy, we're a better team now. Probably a second part of this is we've got 4 or 5 guys that are sitting on the sidelines that, within a couple of weeks, a Kalik, a Greenway, Timmins, we've got quite a few players that are edging closer to getting back in the lineup. So, we're weighing all that at the same time.
Lindy Ruff joining us on the Worcester Hotline. Lindy, one more thing before I'm all good here. Josh Norris. I want to talk to you about Josh Norris because when we've seen him, he's been a big difference maker for your team, and he's had trouble with injury throughout his entire career. I know we've asked you before, like his mindset and all this, but do you start to, as you see him in the lineup consistently, see where this team can be when your best players are available to be your best players?
Yeah, I think we've seen what the difference he's made in our team when he's in the lineup. He's an incredible skater, sees the ice well, and a good goal scorer. Like he's a real good two-way player. He helps us defensively, he helps us offensively. He helps us with speed in the game. He's an effortless skater. And you look at him night in, night out, he's a guy that can make a difference every time he's on the ice.
One more guy to get you on, Lindy, before we let you go. Zach Metza had his first multi-point game the other night. I don't know if you know, there's a crazy stat out there that the score with him on the ice at even strength this year is 18-2, and he hasn't been on the ice for a goal against since, I think, October. And I know there's some goalie stats in that too, but his role and what you really ask from a guy like that isn't playing a lot of minutes. I guess, like, what do you like out of his game, and what really is asked of him when, again, it's more of a depth role?
Well, first and foremost, we ask that you defend really well, and I think he really has defended well. A big part of that is breaking pucks out. He's been able to solve pressure and find his support and break pucks out. Probably 9 times out of 10. I'm well aware of the crazy stat. When you have a player in that 5-6 role, the first and foremost, don't get scored against. Usually your top 4, the guys that are going out there creating offense, you're a guy that, you're going on the ice. You got to play well defensively and keep the other teams, probably third or fourth line usually, out of your end. And I think he's done a great job. His game has been really good for us, and really impressed with, not knowing a lot about him before we got him here and putting him in. He's done a real nice job.
Sabres head coach Lindy Ruff. Lindy, good luck tonight against Vegas and on the ensuing homestand as well. After that one trip to Pittsburgh, you got 5 straight at home, so should be a fun couple of weeks.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Lindy Ruff on the Western Hotline. 7 o'clock tonight, face-off, 6 o'clock pregame.